Thank you very much, Mr. Montut, and pleasant day to persons of the media. I'm happy to be here to be able to address some issues. I'm not happy about all of the issues. I'm happy about one in particular that I will use as my point to highlight where we are. And it is the victory by our political leader in this landmark case pertaining to the appeal that was made by Dr. Ernest Hilaire to the Privy Council on the matter of the case that he had brought for defamation against the leader of the opposition, who was then Prime Minister at the time. I think it is interesting to note the circumstances that transpired and led to this. It's a statement that was made back in 2015 pertaining to Mr. Hilaire's association with CIP, with Jufali, with a number of things that had happened that was questionable in nature. And Mr. Hilaire waited until 2017 to file a defamation case. And so what happened was that the matter went to the appeals court here in the region, and then the decision, or what was done, is that Mr. Chasney's claim that the time had elapsed was upheld by the appeals court. Mr. Hilaire, not being satisfied with the outcome, applied to the Privy Council for a decision. And the decision was made again in favor of our political leader, Honorable Alan Michael Chasney. Now, this has sent waves of celebration throughout the camp of the United Workers' Party in the length and breadth of St. Lucia. And I'm sure those of you of the media who are there, you would have seen people around with the UWP shirts celebrating the victory. And it is not just a victory for Alan Chasney. It is a victory for democracy. It is a victory for the people of St. Lucia. Because what has been happening in this country is we have a government that's bullying people around, trying to silence persons, trying to sanction the media, telling the media what they can report and what they cannot report, using the Parliament of St. Lucia, or abusing the privileges of being a parliamentarian to silence the voice of the opposition and the voice, by extension, the voice of the people of St. Lucia. So when you hear every little thing, they are going to take it to court. They are going to try to intimidate persons as much as they can. We saw the attacks by a government minister on Timothy Polion, one of the leading journalists and talk show hosts in St. Lucia, and his news spin program. We saw the attacks on him, even saying, "I know where you live," and all of this. Have we heard a word from the government condemning such behavior and such action? So when Mr. Chasney, the leader of the opposition, decides that he is going to take this Labour Party to task, and when they step out of line, he is going to challenge them through the only means that is available, which is the court system. And in every instance, he has been proven right. He has won every case as we speak today. I'm not saying there will never come a point in time when he will lose a case, but it is evident that the Labour Party is determined to intimidate persons, to make it as uncomfortable as possible for persons to be able to express themselves freely. And I do not want St. Lucians to forget, when they had made some amendments to the criminal code, do you remember 361? 361 was designed to prevent persons from saying anything about other persons or persons who are doing work of national interest. In other words, they had crafted it in a manner that you could not go out and say things about government ministers. And I have to applaud persons like Mr. Rick Wayne, who publisher of the Star newspaper, who for years applied pressure and made it a point to highlight that the Labour Party the then Labour Party government was trying to silence freedom of expression, which is a basic right under the Constitution. And as a result, we saw prior to the elections, they had withdrawn or repealed 361. But today it appears is a new 361 that they are imposing. You look at the behavior of the Speaker of the House, the attempt to silence the leader of the opposition by first of all threatening to take his salary, something that is beyond the jurisdiction of the Speaker. The Speaker is not the one paying the leader of the opposition. It's not money coming from his pocket. For that matter, if somebody should not be paid, it should be the Speaker of the House, because he is incompetent in what he is doing, and he has brought the entire Parliament into disrepute by his bad decisions and judgment calls. So we are seeing that it is a whole Parliament. We see the Attorney General sitting behind the Prime Minister. We see the Prime Minister not being the leader of government business, but Ernest Hille being the leader of government business. So you are very confused by the type of governance that we are seeing. And as a result, what they are trying to do, what this Labour Party is trying to do, is to silence everybody who comes out and speaks out about the way they are governing this country. We saw the Speaker laying rules in the Parliament as if he was some schoolmaster and giving children instructions on how to behave. Yet still, when the members on his own side uses obscene language, obscenity that can be heard by the public, they deny it. We have seen that they have deleted some of the information that was recorded and broadcasted in the Parliament during a live telecast of what happened in the Parliament. And then we are hearing the explanation from them is that it is libelous. But it was said, how can NTN be libelous for something that was said in Parliament? All of a sudden, all through the years, people have been accused, including myself, of corruption. Nobody never sued NTN. All of a sudden, because Labour Party is in office, somebody will sue NTN on what is made. So we are seeing the withholding of information. Nobody is giving an explanation. I want to add on what my colleague Mr. Montut said. The crime situation. We have heard what the Hotel and Tourism Association said. So do not report on the crime or the murder that happened in the Rodney Bay area. Just say up north. Is that what we have become as a country? So Vieux Fort is not part of St. Lucia. You can report every day where there's a crime in Vieux Fort, in Marigot, or in whatever place. But if it happens, now think of it, persons of the media and people in St. Lucia listening. If Alan Chastanet, who lives in Rodney Bay, was prime minister or minister in a government, and he had come forward and made a statement like that, what would the media be saying about him? What would the people of St. Lucia be saying about him? So are we trying to suppress the reporting of crime? And I know my colleague said about 42, but I have reason to believe that it is higher, because the government is not allowing the proper reporting. And from the information that I have, if somebody got shot and died 2 weeks after from the gunshot wounds, I don't think they even report it as a murder from a gunshot. So, do we really know what is happening in our country? So when we see our political leader taking the bold decision to challenge the cases, and in the case of Ernest Hille, it is not Alan Chasney who took the matter to the Privy Council, you know. He was the one who took it to the Privy Council, and he lost. So every day they were talking about, we won, we won, we won. Well, this time you lost, you lost, you lost. That's what it is. At the end of the day, we need to pay attention to what is happening. Because it's not the case that concerns me, you know. It is what Dr. Hille said afterwards. So you lost the case. You're going to use your leverage in the Parliament of St. Lucia to change laws. You're speaking to the Attorney General to address certain laws because you lost the case. So you didn't see that law needed changing before you lose the case that you lost there. So are you using the Parliament of St. Lucia as you use the High Commission office for your personal benefit? Is that what you are doing? And you can challenge me on this, on the issue of the High Commission office being used for personal benefits, because the records are there to show. So at the end of the day, we need to come to terms with this government that we have governing St. Lucia. A parliamentarian should never use the privilege given by the people of this country to serve them at the highest level, to enact laws for their personal benefits or personal vendettas or trying to get even with persons. Parliament is not designed for that. Parliament is designed to enact laws that will benefit all the people of St. Lucia. And so I am very concerned, because when the Rovergate matter was up for discussion, do we remember the same statements that was made by the minister? That now he is in government, which means he has the resources at his disposal to go after the persons. Is that what you are elected to do? Who you think you are, Ernest Hille? You are parliamentarian today, like I was, and Mr. Montut and many others. And in time to come, you will not be a parliamentarian. I have always learned in my life, when you're in a position of authority, never use your authority to squeeze persons or to enact laws that you will not be willing to abide by when you're not in office. And that is why I welcome the appointment of the special prosecutor. I welcome this appointment, because this special prosecutor is not just going to be for UWPs. It's going to be for everybody. So at the end of the day, your time will come when you will have to answer to the special prosecutor also. So I'm not worried about that. So I want St. Lucians, I want all of us as a people to come to terms with the reality that we have a rogue government running this country. We have a government that is not being accountable to the people. Look at the amount of murders that have happened in Vieux-Fort and environs. Did you ever hear the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Alva Baptiste, did you ever hear him make a statement appealing to the people in his constituency and surrounding constituencies to conduct themselves in a better manner? I don't know if persons in the media heard him say that. I don't know if you all ever interviewed him, but I have not heard it. So if he has said it, then I apologize for the statement I'm making. But if he has not, why would he be able to come and make a statement that St. Lucians outside of St. Lucia should behave themselves better? That St. Lucians outside of St. Lucia need to conduct themselves in a better manner so that we are not going to have more visa restrictions imposed upon St. Lucians. So you're concerned about St. Lucians outside of St. Lucia. You're not concerned about the well-being and the safety of St. Lucians in St. Lucia. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what are these men thinking when they are in a position of authority? What is it that they are doing? What is it that drives their thinking? Because at the end of the day, I don't hear these voices at all, no matter what the people of St. Lucia are going through. I mean, I have reasons to be concerned because the policy decisions, the alignments of this government, its foreign policy is putting St. Lucia in greater danger of having more visa restrictions imposed than anything any individual St. Lucian can do outside of St. Lucia. And I'm not condoning bad behavior anywhere. I believe that our St. Lucian people should behave themselves wherever they are, whether it be in St. Lucia, in Martinique, in Guadeloupe, in the US, in the UK, in Canada, wherever they go, wherever we go, we should be model people that persons can look up to and say, I am proud that I am from St. Lucia. But when you have a government that is creating embarrassment every day, when you have a prime minister who will say, I apologize, his 3 words, and count it on his finger, Alva, don't you think you need to address that and tell the prime minister, be careful how he counts and how he spells? Before you call on St. Lucians to tell them behave themselves? I mean, it is ridiculous that this government continues to embarrass the people. You are foreign minister, you are an air traffic controller, you know demarcations and boundary lines. You don't know St. Lucia is not part of Europe? As foreign minister, to have corrected your political leader and prime minister and tell him St. Lucia is not in Europe, but you want to pick on low-hanging fruit and you want to go after the average St. Lucian because that's what the Labour Party is good at. So you know what is coming in the pipeline. Well, let me tell you, UWP is fully aware. The direction y'all are going with the CIP program, the recent decision that was made for a family of 4 to pay just $100,000 for a CIP, for St. Lucian passport. This is what is putting St. Lucia in danger. When we had warned about selling CIP passports to Russians and other persons, and and Iranians and other persons, all y'all were concerned about was collecting the money. You are not concerned about the reputation and the well-being of St. Lucia and its people and how we stand out there and how well things are working out for us with our foreign policy. Look at your votes at the UN and it will tell you where St. Lucia is leaning on the St. Lucia Labour Party. The evidence is there. It speaks for itself. So I believe, Mr. Foreign Minister, that you need to revisit your cabinet decisions. You need to revisit what is happening. You need to call your government to order, to start behaving themselves. Set the example. The example you want St. Lucians outside to follow. Have you all ever reported on how Richard Frederick got to the US? You are foreign minister. You have a say. Did you ever tell St. Lucians how many days his visa was for? Can he go back to the US? When you try and force the hand of the US government to issue a visa to a person who they have revoked both his diplomatic and his personal visas, and even when he has applied and hired many lawyers, has been denied, you think that is sending a good signal about our foreign policy and what we are trying to do and how we are trying to impose ourselves on other persons? Let me tell you, countries that impose visa, a visa is not a right to you, you know. It's a privilege that is given. And they can take it when they want, and they can give it when they want. And at least I expect, even though the Prime Minister doesn't understand that, I expect you as Foreign Minister to understand that and to be able to advise. So at the end of the day, the policies of the St. Lucia Labour Party is putting the people of St. Lucia in the worst possible situation. When you look at the conduct in the Parliament, when you look at what happens with the Speaker, don't you think that it's on television and everybody else is seeing it? Don't you think that we have been the laughing stock of other Caribbean islands and the wider international community when they see a Prime Minister saying that St. Lucia is part of Europe? Or saying all the leader of the opposition had to do is to use three words? I apologize. 3 words. And count it on his finger. Don't you think that these matters need to be addressed? And that this entire Labour Party government owes the people of St. Lucia an apology for the embarrassment that you all are causing us as a people? You know, the Labour Party is good at accusing other persons. And I listened to one of the calypsos, and I'm waiting, because protecting the victory includes sending Guy Joseph to prison, but you'll have to send me to prison innocently. And I know that's not beyond the Labour Party to do. The Labour Party will do anything. I have said it before, and I will say it again. This Labour Party will stop at nothing. You all have carried out dozens of investigations. 2 years into your term. You still can't say anything? You still can't show anything? And you still want to go after persons who you have proven are innocent, and the guilty ones. The corruption that is staring the Labour Party right in the face. Nothing is being said about this. And I said it yesterday on Champagne in the morning. Go and find out, and I challenge the media. The piece of land in front of S&S in Castries was sold. And that land was sold under UWP government. I'm not saying it was sold under Labour Party government. Find out who was Prime Minister and who was Minister. And find out how much the land was sold for. And make a comparison to the land at Banans and what it was sold for. You see, because people, there's a team that used to be in UWP. A team of twins that used to be in UWP that's now in Labour. You need to investigate their actions and their behavior. And I've said that there's a lot of information that is readily available. But when they want to go after persons, they choose who they want to go after. The evidence is there to see how much was paid for the land and why the land was sold. And I'm making these points to highlight that if you want to talk about corruption, the Prime Minister promised, Prime Minister Philip J Pierre promised that if there was any evidence of corruption, he would not tolerate it in his cabinet. I want to ask how land that was valued at over $6 million 10 years ago could be valued at $3.5 million now and then sold for $2.7. I want anybody who's brighter than me to explain how that is possible. The only place in St. Lucia. So I have to tell St. Lucians, if you want to buy a piece of land, take some garbage and go and dump on it. And maybe that will depreciate the value to a third of what it is. And then you can buy cheaper. Because that's the explanation the government gave us. And they even showed pictures that there was garbage. I didn't know that the garbage could be cleaned. So is that why they are packing the trailers back again at Banan? And to devalue the land so they can sell it to somebody else, whatever is left there. You see, we have to watch the behavior of this Labour Party government. We have to watch what they are doing. Don't mind what they are saying. Just watch what they are doing. Because they say one thing and they do the opposite of what they say. There are too many complaints I have heard, and I think the media needs to investigate this. I've heard about the situation, the water shortages at the hospital. I have been aware that that was a fact. That there was no medication at the hospital, that's a fact. The health centers have not been serving the people with the medication, the basic medication they used to have. I don't know if there's any as I speak. But as late as a week and a half ago, there was no medication. Okay? So, now the latest report I got, for 2 weeks, the police stations don't even have toilet paper. And police officers having to buy toilet paper themselves. What is... Now, when you hear so many of these things, I know people try to play political mischief and they would do things and they would say things. But when you consistently hear these reports, there is reason to be concerned that something is not adding up. That the government is not governing. They are trying to put the people in a party mode so that they can... You know alcoholics? They drink, and they go to bed drunk and they wake up sober, and the next day they go back and drink. And a lot of it, they have problems. So it helps them to forget the problems. Is that what this government is trying to do? Get everybody to be on something to keep them high enough so that they don't worry about their problems? Because I'm saying to you, I went to Mega Massey and I priced 2 bottles of grape juice that I used to buy between $44 and $50. It is $72 today. And I thought maybe it was 4 bottles. So I pulled the 2 bottles to look at it. So I don't know if they put the wrong price, but I nicely placed the people 2 bottles of grape juice back on the shelf, and I left. I am saying this to make a point. Every day, prices are going up in the supermarkets. Every day. I have not seen the same price rises in the U.S. I've been in the U.S. often enough from after COVID to know that a bottle of grape juice costs less. The same bottle, the 2 bottles that is $72 here, is costing less than $5 a bottle. So let's say it's 10 US for the 2. And even if you multiply it by 5, which will include your freight, your duties, and your markup, that would be how much money? You multiply it by 5 to get EC. So 10 5s would be 50. It would not even be 50 EC dollars. Who is looking out for the people of St. Lucia? Where are the ministers who are responsible for commerce and for what is happening? And to compound that situation, after the government already have gas prices artificially high. No reason why gas should be $17. You know what is happening? 2.5% taxes coming again. So this government wants to kill everybody in St. Lucia. Nobody is supposed to survive. How does a parent, and I will say it here, I spoke to a gentleman who used to buy, he has a few kids, so he would buy bread for the breakfast and for them to go to school with something. He had to buy $7.50 bread every day. Now he has to buy $15 bread to feed the same family. And the bread is even less because the loaves look smaller than they used to be. You know what is happening? So for 10 days, that's $150. For 30 days, that is $450. And if that person is just working as a security, how do they take care of their family? Does the government have any concern about the well-being of the people of this country? That you could not, you made $72 million extra in taxes, and you could not subsidize flour for 2 years so that you could keep the price of bread within the reach of the average St. Lucia? And you're telling me you are government for the people? I mean, there's so much to say about the injustice being done to St. Lucians by this government, the St. Lucia Labour Party government, that the only way I can describe it is sheer cruelty. Wickedness is not even enough to describe that. That is cruelty. It's as if this government want the people of St. Lucia to suffer in the worst of ways and in the most inhumane ways. Because when a man cannot feed his family, when children have to go to bed hungry because their parents used to buy a loaf of bread for 25 cents, now have to buy that same loaf of bread for 45 cents. And their salaries have not changed, while bus fares have gone up. Some of them, have you heard how many people have lost their jobs? I heard a few companies have cut back. I heard 45 left. Jobs were made redundant in one company. The hotels are now on rotation because our numbers are down. And I said, you know why I think the numbers are down? You remember the Prime Minister said that the only government in the world who believed that tourism is going to come back to what it was the Alan Chasney government. And I believe that since Labour Party saw tourism was coming back so well, they have made so many bad decisions to make sure we lose the flights, to put St. Lucia in a bad light so that the numbers can go down so they can justify their decisions about the airport. You must never underestimate the thinking of the Labour Party. If he can say, I apologize, his free words, then I expect anything from him. If he can say, St. Lucia is part of Europe, then I know what to expect from this Prime Minister. If he say people don't buy bread in a suit, well, now you need a suit to buy bread because bread is 45 cents. Bread is not for Malawi again. Malawi can afford bread. So is people in suits that can afford bread. You see, we need to come to terms. And Labour Party want to go to Mikud South and report on their achievement. What have they achieved? That's why they're going to Mikud South. Because they go into a constituency where they can see what real representation was. Where Philip J Pierre can see for himself what a prime minister does in his constituency when he's the parliamentary rep for the area. And so he's going to Mikud South to see what a model constituency looks like It's not the Labour Party that going and celebrate there. It's Alan Shasney they're going to celebrate in Mikud South. Because when you can beat them, you have to join them. They cannot beat Alan Shasney, so they join in him in celebrating in Mikud South. Which vendors that going to benefit from the big rally down there? Mikud South people. So if they think that UWP is against them going down there, they are welcome to see what real representation is all about. Thank you. We'll take your questions. Jerry, you mean you don't have no questions, man? No, opposition leader is out of Ireland.
He's off island.
So we're not important enough that I possibly can, that is legal and within the law, to make sure that the UWP returns to office. I don't know what Ernest Hill said. I'm just telling you that I will work as hard as I can. And that is what I've been doing. I've never walked away from the politics. I always said the people appoint you and they disappoint you. Whatever they do, you can't love them today and hate them tomorrow, you know. You always have to love the people. Because the same ones who put you there are the same ones who take you out. So if you are happy when they put you in, you have to be happy when they take you out. But at the end of the day, St. Lucia is more important than all of us. When we are all gone, St. Lucia will still be there. And that is why you would see the team that is here today, Mr. Montoot, myself, Ms. Belrose, all of us have been involved in the politics. And whether we are going to be in elective politics or not is not the point. This is our party, this is our country, and we are going to work for the betterment of St. Lucia in whatever capacity that we have to.
Well said, Guy. And I think the important thing we must always mention is that there are two major parties in St. Lucia. We have the talkers party and we have the doers party, or the doing party. And historically, the United Workers' Party has demonstrated its capacity to work and deliver for the people of St. Lucia. The Labour Party has been a group of talkers, and they continue, they've mastered the art of talking to the extent that every election they've won has always been on lies and deceit. And we are seeing the results of that. So that is the difference between us and them.
What is your response to the justification by the Prime Minister for the 2.5% tax? He said that the UWP has legislation on the books for 2% security tax. So his 2.5% tax is nothing. What is your response to that?
What did he say?
He said that there is legislation on the books that was put there by the UWP administration for 2% security tax. So his 2.5% health security tax.
Oh, well, that's the MO of the Labour Party. Everything they do, somebody else is responsible for it, not them. So, if that came from Philip J Pierre, that's words. Words that he doesn't understand, words he cannot count, and words he cannot spell. So, at the end of the day, if that comes from him, that means nothing to me. So, the airport wasn't part of the UWPMO. What happened to it? The Castries-Grosile Highway wasn't part of what UWP was doing. What became of it? So if UWP had tax on the books and you wanted to remove it, you couldn't remove it. So these men must stop lying to the people of St. Lucia. And stop using things out of convenience. You are a failed leader. You cannot lead. That's the bottom line. So don't come and look and say, conveniently, UWP had it on the books. UWP had VAT on the books from 2006. Labour Party had made the decision, given a commitment to the World Bank and the IMF that VAT would be implemented. We came in and we spent 5 years in government between 2006, 2011, and we did not implement VAT. Labour came in 2011, and by 2013 they had implemented VAT at 15%. So any government can look at any policy. There are many laws on the books that have, you've made this, but there must be a commencement date. The commencement date can be 20 years from now, when your economy can sustain it. And he must be very careful. I don't trust what he's saying, because I know the only area we were looking at is the health and not the health insurance, that there would be a contribution to be made towards the health insurance. Labour Party is not giving anybody health insurance. I mean, I am taken aback by the fact that people, they said that the services they are providing will be at the health centers. The health centers that don't have medication will have stuff to do, how you call this? What is it they promise the ladies? Ultrasound?
Well, just to clarify, they said that they have different private sector establishments that will provide those services with a referral from the health center.
So, but that's what I'm saying. That there is nothing new to the health package that is being offered there. For that matter, back in the 80s, it was even better than what they are offering there. I mean, I grew up knowing that our health centers were very well functioning. They had nurses stationed at the health centers overnight, that if something happened to you, I can make remarks because we use the Tiroche Health Center. Nurse Bisset, everybody knew Nurse Bisset in Tiroche Health Center, Tiroche Castries. Because at the end of the day, anything that happened to you, your first point of reference was the health center. The mothers went to the clinics every month at the health center. They had their cards. We are aware of this, and they were not paying for anything in those days. For that matter, it was this UWP government that was upgrading all of the health centers in St. Lucia. There was a project with the World Bank where there were over 15 health centers being upgraded into modern healthcare facilities. So the Labour Party come in and say, oh, so you send in people and make children and they can't buy bread. Why didn't you say, okay, we are going to feed these children from 0 to 4. They're going to get their milk, they're going to get their pampers, they're going to get... So is ultrasound to tell them if it's a boy or if it's a girl? That's what you're offering them? And then you saying that you are offering now. I have to go on what is there. If you cannot provide Panadol in the hospital and the bags to get blood to save people's lives, I have to trust you that what you say in the health center. You know how many people go to the health centers and they cannot get the most basic medication? You know how much it is to raise a child in St. Lucia today? Why didn't the government say, okay, for every mother, we are going to give you $10,000 a year for a child? When countries want people to have more children, they put measures in place for that to happen. And it is not ultrasounds they offer them. I welcome everything that is offered to the people of St. Lucia. But you see this gimmick by the Labour Party? of trying to make people believe that we are doing so much for you, when in truth and in fact, they have taken us 10 steps backward, and now they have taken us 1 step forward. So we still have 9 steps to go to get to where we used to be in healthcare under UWP government. So Labour Party took us 10 steps backward. You can get St. Jude. Have you all seen any work going on St. Jude? 2 years. And they cannot start. You know why they cannot start? Because the person now drawing the plans for the old St. Jude is not completed with drawing the plans yet. So if they had a plan all along, why is now they drawing the plan?